All right, looks like we're back again. So, we covered the business license, and I hope that you know the importance of a business license. So, I'm going to give you a little story here about what I decided to do in terms of starting a business. Okay, what this has to do with the DJing is everything, because being a DJ, you have a service, and you're providing a service of playing music for people. Okay, you might also sell the music that you produce. Okay, two totally different things, but you get the idea. Okay, so I just want to say that right there is a great. It's a great business because being a DJ is a great business because you're able to sell intangible goods. So goods that are like music, right? And you can sell them in mass volumes for little overhead, which means you don't need a building, to manufacture the stuff. You just go through a distributor, usually. So um, let's talk about the website. So when we start a business, we're looking for ideas like what kind of business do we want to start? Okay, so a little overview of the different types of businesses. Well, really, you have an online one and you have an offline one. Okay, I don't want to confuse you with anything else. Just think of it as online or offline. Okay, so if you look at it, is your DJ business 50% more offline, or is it more 50% more online? Okay, what I want to say to you is try to always lean on the online route as much as possible because you can make a lot of you can get more fans, I think, online for the most part. Just people are spreading content like crazy. It's people are getting known. People are definitely getting known that way, and that's just what I think. But also some big time DJs are getting out there, and they never had a website before, and all of a sudden they blow up that way. But usually it's who you know in that situation. Um, so let's look at this from a business point of view, right? Because you're not going to survive unless you make money in the if you're trying to do DJing full time. So in order to make ends meet, and maybe even a little bit more wealthy, you're going to want to have a website. All right, bear with me here, but if you ever heard of a brick and mortar business is essentially a business like McDonald's, how it has a building and there's people in there working. Okay, I don't want to say anything that you don't already know, but the that is what a brick and mortar business is. It's an operation inside a building. If you were to ever have a DJ business, the only way that it would be a brick and mortar is you have your studio inside the building. Okay, this is, hopefully you can see it. This is off. That's offline. Okay, and then you have online, which is so we'll say things like you're selling your album, like SoundCloud. Think of it like SoundCloud. Okay, so you have SoundCloud, right? And then when you're offline, um, this is usually your studio. Okay, in your studio. Now I want you to look at this again from a business point of view. All right. Most people start here, okay? They pay for people to make their mastered tracks at a studio, right? We can all understand the studio concept. People pay money so that they can have a studio master their tracks so that they can put it on SoundCloud. Very few, very few DJs do both. which means this is a business, right? They're trying to make money selling music on SoundCloud online. Then you have your offline, your brick and mortar. Brick and mortar business is your studio. Okay, so say you're a DJ and you perform out in public and stuff like that. Your overhead, the place where you come home to, it's home. It's home, right? Somewhere in between here. That's home. Okay, but then you have your studio. This may be your business, like you own a studio, or it might be a place that you go and you pay people to do services for you, or it might be a record label. Okay, same thing. It can be a record label too. Okay, so the point I want to get at though is you have offline and you have online. When establishing a business entity, I always encourage starting here, online. Get like a social presence, like they call it, and then you have, then work on this. You don't have to, but there's a lot of money to be made here as a studio DJ. For example, let's see here. So if you think about the things that go on inside a studio, we'll try to wrap this up as quick as possible. But if you think about the things that go on inside a studio, you have songs that you produce, and then let's see here, you have tracking services, and then you have mixing services, right? And then sometimes they'll offer other little services such as CD distribution, okay? Because that could be a label. That's all studio. That's all offline. Most people are online, selling music like on iTunes and stuff like that. And that's where the first entity should start. I believe that you should start you should start with an online presence first. And how do you know when you're ready to quote unquote start producing your own music? Well, that's usually the first step. Is you realize like, hey, I'm a DJ. I'm supposed to be producing my own music, or maybe not. Maybe you're just playing other people's music. You know, some people may never leave that and will always pay these guys money to produce music for them to mix and master and stuff like that. So not a lot of people make the transition to owning the studio. Okay, so it's not necessarily paying them money, which you can do. You know, you can pay people to track mix your music and produce. You can do that, or maybe you could just do one. But the bottom line is there is you have offline and you have online when you're thinking of starting your business entity. The little story, real quick story is I wanted to be an entrepreneur so bad. Like I wanted to make tons and tons of money. And so I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I had some money, right? And I thought about it, and I mean, I really gave it some thought, and I said, do I want to do what most people do, like a franchise? You know, if you have money, you can, you know, start up a franchise and stuff like that. And yeah, you could do that. You could do that. But at my age, the risk level is really high. Okay, usually it's pretty high. The older you get, the more moderate and conservative you are because, you know, you don't have that much energy. And don't be mad at me for that. But the point I'm trying to make is younger people are usually more risky. And they're out there, and they're not as conservative usually, and so their business entities. What was I gonna say? Just totally lost train of thought. Okay, no, I remember now. So franchises are usually something a little bit more conservative when you've already failed a lot of times. If you failed a lot of times with businesses, because your first business, this is a business. Each one of those are businesses. Together it could be a whole other business. You know, you could have DJs in here DJing for you in the studio, and you're collecting royalties off that. But the reason I suggest that you use an online business, your first business should be starting online, doing whatever you got to do, making websites. Because if you were to do another thing such as starting a franchise, you know, there's a lot more risk involved because franchises usually are off brick and mortar, offline. And so you want to definitely focus your efforts on online, so that you can fail. I know it doesn't sound exactly right, but you want to fail a few times before you start putting a lot of money into these things. Because honestly, who is just going to start building a studio unless they've done it, for some time, and they've failed a few times with their businesses. So I hope that concept makes sense. Just to summarize what we talked about, most people start here online, which is fine. I believe it's a good way to do it. And they're working out of their home. But eventually, maybe you can get here with your business, and maybe you can get here where you're at home and you have these two different businesses. You have an online one, and then you also have a brick and mortar building where you have operations going on. So good luck to you on that part.